Hello everyone, Dr. Mark DiPasquale from Adjusted Chiropractic, and I'm joined by Dr. Sean Campbell of Adjusted Chiropractic also.
Yeah.
Doctor, how are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining me today. I actually wanted to, this was inspired by a couple of people who I were actually speaking to, a few patients of ours who said, how did you go? You know, you were, you had COVID, you got over it, you recovered, and we want to ask you a few questions to understand a little bit better about how you went. How does that sound today?
Yeah, sounds good. I think most people up until this last week, you probably never even knew of anyone who had it.
Yeah. So now
it's starting to become a bit more common.
It's becoming a bit more commonplace, that's for sure. Workplaces, homes, etc. So let's go through. I've got a few questions here that people have asked. What is it like, Dr. Sean? What is it like to have COVID-19?
Yeah, so it was pretty much, I'd say it was just over a week. So about maybe 9 days, 10 days. Pretty much sinus pain for a good week. And then a few days of flu-like symptoms. So the flu symptoms were probably 3 days, maybe 3 to 4 days. And to me, it was probably worse than any. I mean, I don't experience, you know, when I get colds and flus and things, they're usually quite minor anyway. They usually only last a week at most. I don't typically get much of a fever or sort of much of the chills or the sweats or the aches or anything like that. But I did experience a couple of days worth of slightly elevated temperature. So still nothing that I would consider significant. I think I reached about low 37s, maybe 37.1. That sort of number was sort of the highest temperature I got, which is still quite a low temperature. I was sleeping probably about 9.5 hours for those 3-4 days. I just felt quite tired in the evenings, but through the day I was up doing normal things for most of the day, eating as normal, trying to eat as healthy as possible. I was still doing the normal things that you do throughout the day. I was, gaming and watching movies and Netflix and going for, sitting out in the sun outside, trying to do a little bit of movement, a little bit of exercise and that. Obviously not too much in that first week, but in the second week, I reckon by sort of a week and a half, I was starting to do some weight training again and getting back into the normal stuff. Around by the end of the second week, I was still in isolation. I was good as gold. I was out trying to get some sun and exercise and all the usual things, just enjoying a bit of time off.
Did you get on the skates again? How long did it take you to get back on the skates?
Yeah, pretty much this a week and a half. I reckon it's like the 10-day mark. I was out skating around in the garage.
That would have killed you being off the skates for that long.
Yeah, well, yeah, another 2 weeks and we're back out on the ice. So
yeah,
looking forward to it.
Looking forward to that. So a question we have for you is how did it start? So let's talk about day one. Like what happened?
Yeah, so that I just had a bit of just like a stuffy nose. Felt a bit like any sort of like cold that you would get, maybe a little bit of hay fever. I just really felt it through sinuses, so I just felt blocked. Not even running, didn't get a sore throat, didn't get any of that sort of thing. Just that sort of sinus, it was like sinus pain for anyone who's had sort of like a sinus infection or something like that. Just that
any headaches?
That aching. No headaches. Just that face pain. And it wasn't pleasant, but certainly not the worst thing. No headaches, nothing that I would consider sort of within like a normal headache.
So the process. So how long did it take to sort of take on, and then like seeing it through? Like, what was the worst part of it? Was it the start? Was it the middle? Was it the end?
Yeah, I reckon there was a good like 3 days where I still felt pretty much normal except for the sinus. Maybe a little bit more tired, like definitely a bit of fatigue. Just like you'd finish work and be like, oh geez, I feel wrecked. So that was a good sort of 3 days, and then I had a couple of days when the sort of fever and the temperature and that stuff kicked in, and then that lasted about 3 days. So those couple of days was definitely the worst. Like in bed, you'd just be like aching. You feel like you got a bit of like restless legs. I still slept perfect throughout it all, but I'd wake up and like have a bit of sweat sort of down my back for a couple of nights, and it was not too bad really, but like a standard sort of flu.
Yeah. And after recovery, what do you have anything sort of that's remained, any long-term things or any symptoms that have hung around?
Yeah, so I reckon that week and a half to 2 weeks and a half, I was doing training and going for walks and doing those sorts of things. I jumping on the bike and doing some pedaling, and definitely felt like my recovery wasn't as good. Like I was a little bit like fatiguing a bit quicker. But by 2.5 weeks, I was back to 100%. So pretty much back training, full recovery, felt exactly as strong and fit as before I developed the symptoms. So pretty much back to normal.
Yeah, fantastic and good to hear. So yeah, they were pretty much the questions that came through that we wanted to ask you and get a bit more clarity around that. I suppose everyone's going to have a different experience. Some are going to have less, some are going to have more. Everyone is individual when they go through anything health-wise. That's important to know. Overall, do you have any advice for anyone out there who is sort of thinking, well, do I have to go through this in the future? What's going to happen to me? Should they, what advice do you have for them in general?
The other thing during that time, so eating, I did lose my taste for about 3 days, and then that took probably another week and a half, where it slowly got a bit better every day until it fully returned. Definitely found that while I was eating, what went during that week where I had symptoms, I was eating a bit slower, but just ate pretty much as normal. If anything, I ate a little healthier. I mean, I'm usually very healthy anyway, but just didn't have the sort of snacks and desserts and things, didn't even really feel the need for them as much. Lots more meat, lots of protein, and then really loaded up on all the supplements, the same stuff we've been through in our other videos, and the things we recommend, where we kind of times all of our usual supplements by 5, so the antioxidants, the OPC 3, and the vitamin C and vitamin D, zinc, and all that. So really loaded up on those. Definitely think that they helped a lot. I've seen, at this point now, probably know about 20 people who have gone through it, pretty much had identical symptoms to what I had, same time frame. A few, sort of the ones that were teenagers, theirs lasted probably half the length. They were probably only symptoms for probably about 3-4 days. And then some of them have had no symptoms other than maybe some like loss of taste or smell. From what I'm experiencing, that seems to be the normal thing for healthy people.
So as we here in Melbourne are sort of opening up, I think so some restrictions ease that we've had over the last weeks. Some restrictions ease as of tonight, midnight. So more people are going to be out there, out and about, and so more cases. We are going to be getting more cases, I suppose, as more people are out and about. How do you sort of advise everybody with regards to what confidence factor should they have? What fear factor should they have?
Yeah, well, I think the whole point of us doing this video is because there's so much fear around it, and also possibly the thought that this can be avoided. And the fact is, we've been dealing with viruses for all of humanity, and it actually shapes how humans have evolved as well. So it's just a part of the world, and it's a thing that 99.997% of people are going to get through and survive. And we just need to make sure that we're healthy, that we don't have fear. Because if you increase the fear, the anxiety around it, your body's not going to be in as good a position to deal with it. Where if you get it and you're like, all right, I know what this is, I know how to handle it, I know that I'm going to be fine. That positive thinking, that doing all the things to keep yourself healthy and get the body in the best place to deal with it, it's going to be a lot easier. And then also the acceptance that pretty much everyone's going to get this thing, regardless of your vaccination status. I mean, statistics from every other country in the world have shown it doesn't really matter if you've been vaccinated or not. You're going to get the virus at some stage. So we just want to be as healthy as we can. We want to try and avoid being fearful.
So it really does play out that, looking after oneself, health and immune system all the time is very important. Getting it prepared for anything that it comes across is important. Then also having confidence with what we do when we are faced with the virus and we do catch a virus, and then how to support in that process as well. It's really good advice. So thank you very much for that. Really good. So look, we'll keep after this goes out, we'll keep on answering questions that do come in. But I think that should. I think you've done really well there. You've given me a great perspective. I've been, over the weeks in the past, and when you went through it, I've been chatting to you and also others that have gone through and are going through the process at the moment. And yeah, as you say, is the way that it runs out, isn't it? So do you have any final words for those people listening out there who are we're going to be out there in the world and facing this?
Just that you'll probably be in contact with this thing, and you'll get through it. It'll be a week and a half, and you'll be back to normal and able to move on with life. So great advice. It's something that we shouldn't be fearful. I think, and this is my personal opinion, so this is not advice. This is definitely not medical advice or anything like that. If we are in this world and we're fearful of things, well, then obviously it's going to affect the way we live our life, isn't it? So there are certain things that are obvious that we should be fearful of. We should be looking after our health in the way, because there's many other things that are there, health-wise, etc., that we also need to be looking after. Dr. Sean, we need to be looking after things like monitoring things with regards to cancers and diabetes and heart disease and things like that. And I suppose going through this process of fear over the last couple of years by a lot of people is that maybe those things have been put on the back burner a little bit. People haven't been looking after themselves as much, haven't been exercising as much, definitely probably not eating as well, not supplementing. All the things we know that work. Social interactions and support.
Yep, social interactions, support. So I think we're moving ahead now as a community. Definitely, I think in Melbourne. Weeks ago, Dr. Sean, a couple of months ago, when one heard that one had COVID or had come in contact with a person who had COVID, it was like the eyebrows would raise and go, and it'd be like, oh goodness. But now it's like, it's out there now, so we need to, and there are examples of people who have looked after themselves, gotten over it and moved forward. We just need full confidence with regards to that. So I'm not seeing that as much. There is still going to be a lot of that, but I'm not seeing it as much. Have you seen the same thing?
Yeah, nearly every person I talk to now, there's a handful of people that have either had it or are currently isolating because they've been in contact with someone who's had it. I think most people now, a lot of what I've spoken to, people are more fearful not of the actual virus, but of the consequences of what happens to their businesses, what happens to like people who are pregnant. Are fearful that if they have people around them, their partners, and they get in contact with the virus, it's the restrictions of being able to visit in the hospital or be there for the birth, or it's actually the government restrictions that are stressing people out more than the virus.
Yeah, well, that's a very good point. I have spoken to a couple of families, particularly where members of their household, the older members of the household, have been resistant to be going to seek medical care, do what they need to do if things escalate, and they do not want to be separated from family. That's the worrying thing, and that's what's going to get people in trouble, because there are treatments, there are things that can actually be done. I think that we just need to dispel a lot of that fear and get the care that we need when we need it, and just keep supporting each other. Yeah, well said. Well done. Well, thank you very much for those words and of inspiration, and, well, obviously putting yourself in the firing line as always. So well done. So what we'll do is we'll close it out there. Obviously, if anyone out there has any questions that we haven't covered, please let us know. We'll ask those of you, Dr. Sean, and also others too. So thanks for being part of that. So thanks for being so open, so open and candid about, experience of what you've actually gone through. So we appreciate that. All right. Good luck out there, everyone. Keep contacting us if you have any questions. Contact myself, Dr. Mark here. Dr. Sean is always here. All our team is here for you. Just drop us an email, give us a phone call. We're always here. Look after yourself, everybody, because no one else will. Bye for now.
See you guys.
Thanks, Dr. Sean. See you later.